Hey guys, want to welcome you to another edition of Halftime Chat, and I've got a special guest today, um, the R&B singer, songwriter, producer, Mr. Jon B. He has come out with over 8 albums and countless hits, working with Babyface and Tim and Bob. I mean, just so many great acts, and yeah, and Tupac, the late Tupac. And so he's been touring constantly, lots of shows, but in the midst of that, he's actually getting ready to put out a new album. The first single has just come out with Tank. And so we're going to talk to him about that, his career, and see where it takes us.
Peace. Can you hear me?
Hey,
All right.
how you doing?
Are you there? How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing
Can you hear
good.
me?
Yeah, I can see and I can hear you. Can you hear me and see me?
Okay, great, great. Yeah, I can see you. How are you, sir?
Yes, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yes, it's I know it's
Thanks for
about
having me.
pardon?
I said, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're glad that you've agreed to come down in July with 107
Yeah.
room 107. So that's on the on the 4th of July, 7th of July in London. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. But I think we wanted to get some of the UK fans sort of updated with what's been happening with you for this time. So they'll be anticipating the concert in July.
Well, a lot's been happening with me. I've got an album that I'm putting out very soon. I would say, are we doing July still? Yes, July is when the album is going to drop. Do you have a date?
We don't, because it may even be sooner than that.
Okay, well, we're looking at the date still as far as the exact. You know, wifey controls everything, all of the she controls all the release dates, all of the, all of the booking, all of the
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, I
I
started.
do the creative part. So, my as long as I stay in my bag, I think we'll be okay. As far as
Yeah,
the album sounding good, as far as everything else, this is one of the albums that I've done the most video production for. As far as we filmed like 6 or 7 videos for 7 songs on this album. So lots of visuals for this
wow.
album, just fun. We had a lot of time on our hands during COVID, so and also just over the course of kind of taking breaks from touring,
Yeah.
because touring is really what keeps me busy, for the most part. But yeah, while we had some time at home, I was able to film some videos and finish my album as well, which was the main important thing was finishing the album, getting it to my liking in terms of the sound. And yeah, it's been a 10-year process. So this is the longest I've ever taken to deliver an album.
Is understanding on it going to be on it?
Is Understand going to be on it? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Featuring Donnell Jones. Yes. Um, that was really the first song that I started in the album process. And along with the song called Priceless. And that was right before the whole epidemic. So it was
Yeah.
that kind of shut everything down, as you know.
Yeah. But I mean, I listened to it and I was really surprised just how good it is. I mean, it's amazing to say surprised how good it was, but
Oh my gosh, thank you.
because Donnell is I've had him on my show twice. We met up when he came to London, and so we're really good big fans and friends of Donnell, and so hearing his voice alongside yourself, which it was like, wow, this is, a sort of a partnership that we're missing. In fact, when I interviewed him and I said to him, why are we not getting the love songs that we got in the 90s? And he started to mention yourself and Maxwell and others who used to always talk about love in different ways. But now
Yes.
we're not getting that. And so as consumers, we're not getting those ballads, we're not getting those romantic songs. We're being fed something else that just that material stuff and things. So it's good that you're back. It's
Well,
good.
thank you so much. It
Yeah,
really is nice to be back in that way too. Um, being missed again, in a sense of like being needed. I want to come when I'm most needed. I want to come out
yeah,
when I'm most needed. It's it's really not for show. It's really not. I know that we've become famous for doing this music, but for me, this is sort of an innate thing that I do with myself. While I have time on this planet, I want to make music. And it's like it's weird that it happens to be a dope career choice because expressing myself in my art in the way I always have also lines up with having a lucrative career in performing and entertainment and all of that. But I think what really drives this whole process is knowing that there not only is an interest within myself, but externally, the world has begun to have, well, not begun, but has, has really, it's, it's really, it's become something that is, I know that it's a relationship that deserves for me to really take it as seriously as I've always taken it. But, uh, but don't lose the focus because of the fact of the entertainment business or whatever have you and the rules and the regulations of the you know the powers that be. It's like it is what it is, but there's still a culture that is out there that's waiting to hear this music, and the people that live and breathe this music, that fall in love to it, that
yeah,
drive to school, that you know what I mean. It's like, they're showing my music to their children. It's a wonderful thing to have this relationship. And so it's a responsibility for me to, I think, keep it, not only for myself because I do it as my
yeah,
art, my expression, but also there's a responsibility to doing it for them as well, because, and for you, the listener, because it's like, I don't want to let you down. I really don't. I think that you're right. These times, more than ever, there's a lot of very ratchet, sounding lyrics right
yeah,
now for
yeah,
R&B, especially, so there's got to be something else for the the people to be able to take in and live their life to. And I'd love to be able to present that, but before I can do that, I really have to make sure that you can listen to it over and over and over, and not have any complaints. And that's the way I felt about Understand. When I put Understand, I was like, this is quality for me now. So I'm ready, and thank you, Donnell, for blessing the record because it
yeah.
just
How did you
took
reach
it
out
to
to
another
him?
level.
How did you connect? How did you get him to be on it? As I said, his voice complements yours. And even the visuals were really good. I think it
Thank
happened
you.
just before lockdown, so it just got lost in when everyone was just running around
Yeah.
not knowing what was happening. But just how did that come up, that track?
Well, Donnell and I met at the Soul Train Awards. We were both performing, and 2000, I want to say 2018, I think.
Okay.
So, and it was a really, really great night for both of us. We were just really excited to be honored that night with the performance. And so, we were both kind of nervous backstage, and I just kind of like spoke to him for a moment, and we both got our heads together in terms of like, man, they're celebrating us. You know what I mean? This is wonderful. All this time we've been able, you know, you know, been able to do this. So, we kind of keyed into what we had to do there, and both of us performed really. That's one of the most memorable times performing now is that Soul Train Awards, the BET Soul Train Awards 2018. And I really wanted to, after seeing that, I talked to him after the show, and I was like, man, I would love to get you some music. So, is there an email I could send you something? He's like, sure. He gives me the email. So I send him Understand, and Understand was pretty much a done record for me. It was already written and everything. But I always, when I wrote it, my friend Tim and I wrote this record, and Tim, he wrote the verses. A lot of the verse was Tim, And after he finished it, I said, this sounds a little bit like Donnell Jones, when the first verse. I was like, the pocket of it, the way that you have the melody, I said, it kind of favors Donnell Jones even more than me. Because we were writing a song for me.
Yeah.
And so we always had in our head that it would really be dope if we could get Donnell Jones to do this. And then when we crossed paths, man, I gave him the song, sent him the song, and he loved it. And he didn't want to change nothing. He was like, look, I'm gonna sing it just like that. And man, he just put his swag on it, and it really,
Yeah.
really, I mean, I'm a Donnell Jones fan, so I know, his style and everything. And he really put his thing on there in terms of just those lyrics and how to, just to adapt to a song and just really, really own it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved his performance on it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing, a really amazing track. And the fact that, and I'll reach out to him just to really, but I didn't to reach out to him to congratulate him on that. And actually, when I look at your sort of music career, in a sense, it mirrors his as people who are self-contained singers, songwriters, and producers.
Yeah.
But in some cases, you had others complement your albums. And I don't know when I spoke to Donnell about working with Eric Williams from Blackstreet. At first, he was hesitant about having somebody else come on. He's like, let me do it on myself. But he later appreciated the fact that actually they're bringing out something that I didn't.
Mhm.
When I looked at your catalog and I went through, all your albums, and I started with Bonafide, and you did um 11 out of the 13 tracks you did wrote and produced it, with Face doing Pretty Girl and Someone to Love. But then you go to Cool Relax, and then you only do half the tracks. And I'm thinking, was that something that you agreed to do? Or was that stuff that it was, and how did that feel like being a guy who could do it all by himself, like you showed in your debut album, to now have to only do half?
Sometimes being part of the genius of doing this, if you want to call yourself, or even refer you to yourself in that sense, I don't know, it's kind of like different, but that's what people tell me is more or less part of the genius. Sometimes is about knowing when to back off and to play the seat of the artist, take the seat of the artist
Mm.
and the songwriter as well. But rather, if a track and a producer comes with a track that really suits you in that sense, it really, really just brings out the lyrics and makes the song happen for you, then
Yeah.
why not? Because as a songwriter, that's probably my favorite thing, is to just go straight to town, with a track. As soon
Yeah.
as I hear it, I'm just like, oh, that's it. It goes like, and so if it's my track, it's wonderful too, but that's a different building process.
Mm.
That's brick for brick, that's layer for layer, and then you do the vocals, So it's if you have that sense of detail and that really that want, that that dedication to what your track and the music is going to sound like
Mm.
I do, then yeah, you do produce the lion's share of your record. For Cool Relax, it was much more of a mixture of producers that I would really always wanted to work with too, as well, like Ali Shaheed Muhammad from Tribe Called Quest. Being around Q-Tip on that album, and Ali and the whole Tribe Called Quest guys, it was really kind of the backbone of the inspiration for what the vibe was that I was kind of coming into,
Okay.
working with Bob Powers for the first time. Uh, Being such a fan of Tribe and everything that was coming really out the East Coast, really, I was just a huge hip hop head, that I was kind of making my wish list of who I wanted to work with at that time.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, that's how I ended up linking with Ali Shaheed Muhammad. And man, what an amazing dude. Had me to the house and played me a bunch of amazing tracks. And Cool Relax was one of the tracks that he played me that just, at the time, the song at the time was Maxwell Ascension. And
Ah,
I'm such a Maxwell fan. So I want to say Maxwell Ascension was sort of our template for our inspiration as far as what the type of record that once I heard the Cool Relax track, I said, that kind of gives me a vibe like Maxwell,
yeah, yeah.
and I started to just vibe to it. And so Cool Relax became sort of the record that I loved the most on my album, but I knew it wasn't per se a single, but I wanted to name the album Cool Relax also because I felt that that statement itself best said where I felt I was in my time, my artistry at that point. I
Yeah.
wasn't worried about proving myself or doing all that. I was more like, let's cool, relax, and just enjoy ourselves right now.
Was Jay Dilla on a part of the production on that, or just Q and Ali?
I'm sorry, what was it? I'm sorry.
No, it was
My
Jay
my
Dilla. Yeah, was Jay Dilla part of the production on that track on Cool Relax?
Did Jay Dilla?
Yes, because he's part of the Uma, isn't it? He's part of that.
Yes. Yeah, Umo was yeah, Jay Dilla was around. I met Jay Dilla actually at Q-Tip's house. He rode up on rollerblades. He was a really young kid, probably 16.
Wow.
And he rode in from going around the neighborhood on rollerblades with his friends. And I was like, "What's up, man?" He was like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Jay Dilla." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I know who you are, man." He's like, "Yo, I just did the remix for Busta Rhymes, Woo-Ha." I was like, "You did, man? That's what's up, bro." Like, and then I was in Tupac. I mean, I was in Q-Tip's studio, and I was looking at this MPC 3000, and he's like, "You know about that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got one." And he's like, "You know how to filter on it?" I was like, "I do not know how the filters work on that. I mean, I know the basics, but like, how do you use it?" He's like, "Oh man, let me show you." So he showed me how to filter a kick to make the kick just be so, just have this snap, just like it was so dope the way he did it. And I was like, "That's super dope." Then he went to the snare and he did the same thing with the snare. He just showed me how to filter it to make it pop. And I was like, "Man, that is super dope." So I'll never forget that he showed me that. But that was actually in the original studio that Q-Tip had before it burned down.
Okay.
And that's something that both Q-Tip and I have in common because my studio burned down too in 2001. I
Oh,
lost everything in my studio to a fire. So
wow.
yeah, but that's another story in itself.
Yeah, yeah.
This is we talk about cool, relax, and I went to the fire. But yeah.
No, but I wasn't sure if you, but as you said, it was a wish list. I thought the label didn't trust you to do the album yourself, but you decided that actually, I actually do want to get some of these stars on my album. That's the balance of it. It wasn't that they thought, okay, we know you went platinum with your debut album, you did it yourself, but now we want to get others. But that wasn't the case.
No, this was all this was all between Michael McCoran, who was the A&R for Edmonds record group, which was the label that I was signed to along with Epic. They both shared the titleship of being the label.
Yeah.
Because there was no one else that I that I put my album together with. We had a table that we sat around and we talked about people that I wanted to work with. And on the board of collaborations was Tribe Called Quest, and on the board of collaborations was Casey and JoJo, you know, or Jodeci in the sense, Devontae. So yeah, I had all of those things that I had gotten together, and then the label also had their sort of wish list of people they wanted me to collaborate with, which was Diane Warren and David Foster. Yeah, and so we kind of, but Babyface was really also involved on that project as well with the song, with two songs. But yeah, Casey and JoJo came and sang background vocals for me on that record. A couple songs, "Can We Get Down," the song I produced and wrote myself, and they heard it and they came through to sing on the song "Pride and Joy," which Babyface produced, and then they heard "Can We Get Down." They were like, "We'd love to sing on that too, man." I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" And so it was amazing, man. It was just amazing. So that album Am I leaving any songs out there?
Well, yeah, well, the biggest one was
John Robinson also as well with Don't Say, you know,
Tim and
really
Bob.
bluesy kind of like soulful cut
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
loved. Mark Nelson on the background vocals, and I remember hearing that playing through. There's not many songs on the album that I didn't write it myself at all. Well, there's probably two. Don't Say, and I believe, is it two or more? Is that on
yeah.
there?
Turmoil was Diane Warren, and then
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
and then
and
also Pride and Joy I didn't write as well. And Love
yeah.
Hurts I didn't write. But
Don't.
these
What about Don't Say?
Don't Say, yeah, that's for the one I'm speaking about right now.
Okay.
It's John Robinson and Mark Nelson at from As Yet, you know, the group As Yet. So
Mhm.
R&B, man, amazing voice, you know, and so his backgrounds are the primary backgrounds that you hear. And
Yeah.
we really didn't need to. I mean, I added my pad, but I loved the way his voice sounded on those backgrounds, so we left that like that. And yeah, and I love that song. Also, Sanaa Lathan was in my video for that as well. That was her like debut to the screen, the silver screen.
This
It's
is
on my
great.
video.
Yeah, but I interviewed Mark a couple of months ago,
Oh,
and
did you?
also saw him when he came to London. He mentioned that actually you heard the track and said, oh, I actually want, can you get it for the album?
Yeah, yeah. John was also really involved too with like the A&Ring of the album too. He was really John was always around in those meetings, and he's a witness to everything that went on. Also want to give uh Johnny J his flowers for Are You Still Down, the track Are You Still
Yeah.
Down, the production on that. Just had such a sometimes it's about really being a selector, really
Mm.
being an amazing selector of just energy and
Yeah.
what makes you feel like what. And that's what I wanted to do on Cool Relax, was just create this energy with all of these beautiful records that kind of, we didn't know that it was going to blend so well. We just kind of put it down, and I don't think we joggled the order too many times. Maybe a couple, but it really came together quite naturally and quite quick. And yeah, it was a beautiful album for me. It was like one of my favorites, I think, if not my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go to places you like because that's probably my favorite. But
Oh, thank you.
I just interviewed Bob Robinson from Tim and Bob.
Yeah, yeah,
And
beautiful guy, man.
yeah, he is. And then and I spoke to him about They Don't Know, and he said that they were struggling to get singles out because they were very much they were learning their crafts, but they listened to L.A. Reid teach to talk to them about keeping it simple. And so they said that that was their first hits working with you, and they learned the blueprint, and L.A. Reid sent them I think Moet or something to congratulate them like, yes, you now know how to write a hit. But one of the things about Tim and Bob that most of us appreciate is that they know how to write or produce songs and have the backing vocals that really touch into the sensitivity of men. What was it like for you as a writer and producer working alongside Tim and Bob and making this one of your biggest songs, helping create that?
Yes, I mean, well, like I said, when you hear a track that speaks to you and just makes you just start just wanting to just go there, that's one of those. This is one of the great examples of a song that I just didn't hold back on. It's kind of like a train of thought, and it was really a very, very kind of conversation record, where it was
Mm-hmm.
more kind of down to earth on some more real life and less metaphors. There are some metaphors in there. Want my cake and eat it too. I use some different stuff in there, but for the most part, it's like I'm speaking to you.
Mm.
And I was going through some things at the time that really helped kind of like make that natural to
Wow.
tell that story. And being a young man, and being in the music, industry and getting all that attention and whatnot, it was very easy. And also having a girlfriend at the same time. So
Mm.
wasn't quite yet married, but I think I was trying to be at that time. So it was more
Yeah.
like, all right, if we're gonna be together, let's not listen to anything that just saying,
Oh,
people are saying on the outside, the whole relationship bit about, hearsay and don't go to your friends, come to me,
yeah.
and but I love melodically where their influence through the track and the way that I was able to kind of like interweave that melody around that track, because that melody is very specific. That melody is that's me. That's
Yeah.
that's all over the place. That's not at all like a dun, 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 like droned out, like simple tone, like one, two note type of melodies. That's like all over the place, that record. And there is a pattern to it, but it's very I could tell you who the inspiration is for that. It's Stokely from Mint Condition. I was
Kidding
listening
me.
to a lot of Stokely, a lot of Mint Condition,
Yeah.
and I always give him his flowers when I see him for this, because without him, I don't think I would have the sensibility to even think like that melodic.
Mm.
Um, when you hear a song like "Pretty Brown Eyes," I see you. It's very all over, right? So for me, I wanted to write a song, or like, what can I man would I be? If I live on fame, what kind of girl would you be if you did the same? It's very, very it's got a very staccato and kind of like bouncy kind of da, 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 da thing to it, which is for me what kind of was the genesis for me thinking about the pocket for They Don't Know and how I was going to approach that. Are you gonna do it like bum, bum, dun, 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 whatever like that? Or are you gonna bump, 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 bump? So I was like, dun, 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 dun. That's my pocket. And yeah, that story itself is kind of like, it is something that I think that is very easy to relate to. So it's
Mm.
lasted all these years because it's a simple story. Like L.A. Reid said, like be simple about it. Yeah, I mean, you know, Babyface, I feel like is the same example for me as far as to show how you can be oh so simple and articulate is the
Yeah.
word, uh, and just really paint the picture. You don't need to be crazy metaphoric every line and punchlines and this and that. You can actually say what it is
Yeah.
and tell, and have the conversation, because the punchlines are great for when you need them. Like, like I'm on the second verse and I'm like, I said, I want, you think I'm doing, whatever, and you think I want my cake and eat it too. I mean, that's the farthest that we kind of went with it, you know what I mean? And as far as metaphors, but
Yeah.
yeah, for the most part, it's quite literal. It's quite,
Who sang the backgrounds? Because that's one of the things that we don't get a lot of good background sort of,
harmony
the
backgrounds as well.
harmony.
Like,
Yeah. Who was doing
yeah,
all the
where
harmonies?
it's not just the drone single note unison,
Mm.
um, a bunch of voices singing one note. It's actually like five notes. I think it might be like three, four notes. I think we might not have done five, but knowing us, we kind of Tim and Bob and myself we're all Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis students, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's and Babyface and L.A. Reid and Babyface students, because it's their music that we grew up off of. And so I think we all wanted to know how they stacked their vocals when they recorded New Edition, when they
yeah,
recorded Janet, and so in our own ways, I feel like we kind of recreated that sound with our sound, or
mm,
kept that tradition going with a lot of the ways that we approached our stacks, is what we call it,
yeah.
in the harmony, of my vocals. When we're stacking the vocals and I do the first note, well, it's not too early right now, but I don't want to sing, but it's like after you do the first note and then you do the second note, which is usually the harmony, or the third, something, however you want to stack it. But you know, you can make these things sound like cluster chords. Like it's
Mm.
really, really quite amazing that when you put a note sometimes right next to a note, very close to the next note, instead of it being like a normal it's like it's just all these ways of stacking a note right next to it where sometimes those little ghost notes in the background that you're not really paying the most attention to, they really give it quite an amazing texture. And if you know about that, like I know a lot of the modern R&B right now is doing a lot of that
Okay.
cluster chording and making these really close, like, sort of like unorthodox harmonies, but they just work, and I
Yeah.
love that. I'm doing a lot of that on the new album. There's a lot of like playing with the harmony. This new single that I just put out, "Waiting on You," is actually quite and a great example of that. The way I did that, I actually collaborated with Tank on this new single.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I saw you performed alone and on the Tamar show, but I saw even seen the video with Tank,
Oh,
and
sweet, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I was going to get to that. I think one of the things is on your Bonafide, my favorite track was the one that you did with Babyface, "Lonely Girl." It didn't sound like a Babyface track, but it was just so beautiful.
Well, I'm sorry, what was the song?
"Lonely Girl."
Lonely Girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
One
Lonely
of my
Girl.
favorite tracks by you on that album. It was
That's a collaboration between the two of us. I mean, we both produced that and wrote that together. And it's interesting because the the song itself, I was going through a divorce at the time, and getting over a divorce. I was kind of had already been through it, but it was sort of lingering in my spirit for the whole lonely energy,
Mm,
during that time. And so my chord progression was start out minor, in the minor key, and started to go into this chord progression, and right away we started to come up with the main hook and stuff like that, and that was what we came up first. And then when we went into the verse, it was weird because I hit the chord like a wrong way. I made a mistake, and then Kenny goes, "I like that, like keep that like that," and because I was sequencing, we're on the MPC and I'm sequencing the pattern for the song, and I'm playing the keyboard part down, and he's like, "Keep that like that." I was like, "Really? That's kind of it's kind of um, dark, don't you think? The way that I raised this one note on this chord." And he's like, "No, that's dope." And so we just kind of left it, and we wrote a really that record is one of the most it was a really fun record to write together because
mm,
he was instrumental in showing me how he can be articulate with words and be so specific about telling a story, and just stay to the story. All right, and we're talking about a lonely girl, so let's tell the story of the lonely girl, and and the way that we were able to craft that together. I just watched. Sometimes you say a little bit, and then you kind of shut up because let this
mm,
man work, let him do his thing, and that's what the fun thing about collaborating is you push a little bit at times, and then sometimes you hold back, and then you pull back. So that's the whole thing, is knowing when to do so. And that's a great example of us both really just kind of iron sharpening iron. The horn, all the horn parts and all that, I did all that. I felt like I was in my Quincy Jones bag on that song. Like it was very, very, all these rolling kind of horns, and I love symphonic stuff. I love stuff with like a lot of detail to it,
yeah.
So I always wanted to make my music actually real orchestras, like to have a real orchestra in there, real horns and stuff. But we didn't actually do that. But still, the song's a great song.
No, it's a
I could
beautiful
talk about it
song.
forever.
Yeah, no, it was a beautiful song. In fact, the fact that you asked that, because somebody, one of my viewers, Dobie Sonic, said, "Did you use live strings on the on Overjoyed Faith Evans?
Did I use what?
Live strings,
Live.
live instrument, like the
Oh
strings."
yes, I'm sorry. I have like a busted speaker on my
Okay, that's
computer,
fine.
and so it's kind of distorting as you speak, and I'm trying to cover the speaker so it doesn't distort. Time for a new computer. Hello. Um, I used Rhodes on that, which was Fender Rhodes. Yeah,
Okay,
1975, three Fender Rhodes. Yeah, with the speaker cabinet, the old school Rhodes, and that's what makes those really bubbly, kind of like Bob Jamesy kind of. But I actually used, I think for like the little, also on top of that, layered on top of that is like some synthesizers. But
okay,
yeah, for the most part, that song's very live. The drums are um are programmed, but yeah, but the fact that the meat and potatoes of the chords is all on the Rhodes, and just that's a very, very
okay,
Rhodes piano uh
okay.
record. Yeah.
That off of Bonafide, you had Gone Before Light. But was the song initially supposed to be titled "Oh So Special"? Because that sound felt like the name of the song, but it's a. Did you have it? How did you settle on um? Sorry, "Gone Before the Lights"? But it felt like it was the song should be called "So Special."
Oh,
Right?
well, it very well could have, but Gone Before Light just is so dramatic, and it's the last thing that I say on the hook, so it's
Okay.
very the story is it's like the Phantom, the Phantom of the Opera kind of
Yeah.
energy. It's like, all right, out before the dawn, you know what I mean? And it's very Duran Duran and also Sting influenced as well, like my
Mm.
production on that. And also I want to say even Chris Isaac, like back in
Ah,
all the
yeah, yeah.
music I was listening to at the time, was kind of making me want to make that music. But to have the nylon guitar player that I had play on there, I forget his name, but he was just virtuoso. We also have my family play strings, chamber strings. Had a little chamber string orchestra. It was just the three of them. My father playing violin, my sister playing violin, and my brother playing cello.
Wow.
And we stacked it up a bunch and made it sound like a nice little string section on the vamp of that song. So, but yeah, that song is it's probably the to show kind of the level in terms of like all the influence and
Mm.
how kind of I can stretch my style very far. Like I always wanted to produce songs for movie soundtracks.
Okay.
So that's a great example of like a song that would be like I'd love to put something like that like on a James Bond film or something
Yeah,
huge.
yeah.
You know, that would be a dream come true to do
it
something.
it had that vibe. It had the probably like a Spanish Latin vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was a beautiful.
yeah.
I mean, I love the Bonafide because it was one of those albums that you don't skip. It had the right vibe
Thank you.
throughout, and that was why I was surprised with Cool and Relax. Which Cool Relax, which was you know, you had more of your hits, but it wasn't as consistent as say Bonafide, where you did
Oh,
the
you think?
mode. Because you did most of the work, so you could the tempo was just right, and it just it just fits. Cool and Relax is cool, relax. Everyone loves it. They love the hits and things. Um, but when that's why I told you pleasures you like was probably my favorite because you did most of the production. You did.
Mm,
I did looked at it. You did 12 out of the 15, uh,
yeah.
minus the five interludes. So it went back to I kind of liked the fact that when you were doing majority of the production, you controlled the tempo, the vibe. So I knew what I
Mm,
was getting into.
mm,
Um, but as I said, no one can deny how the big productions on Cool Relax. But I didn't know when you think about those three albums, those first three, did you see the difference between when you handled the production and compared to when you had Cool and Relax? Because Pleasures You Like, I said my favorite, um, followed by Stronger, Stronger and Every Day. You'd be surprised that I actually love Comfort Swag and Helpless Romantic. So I went,
Yeah, those albums are now I've gone back to doing albums primarily myself. Like the last three, I think the last four albums. So this album, Waiting on You, is all me, except for I think maybe one track, which is Waiting on You, is produced by Brady Watt, the lead off single, but everything else on the album is me. And the last album, B-Sides, was also all me. And Comfortable Swag was all me as well.
yeah.
Except for I think one song I had my man Adonis produce a song for me. But yeah, it's music is my thing. That's what I do, from the ground up, from 0 to 100, but it's also a beautiful thing to be an artist and kind of to let others kind of have their their sound, allow them to have their sound and how they see you fitting into their sound. Because I can stretch, and it's all about stretching and being, taking chances and doing things that are unpredictable, because then you can keep it interesting. Because you can always go back to the old templates. You can always go back to your doing it yourself and being the only guy in the room. But yeah, I think there's some magic in collaboration. It's like, for me, the things that really keep this thing very interesting for me,
Yeah, but think about Amnesia. And I'm
I'm
like,
sorry.
amnesia on
Amnesia,
comfort.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was, you're talking about being out of your comfort zone. That was
Yeah,
like,
that's a return to like an energy like Gone Before Light you mentioned before. Just getting back to showing that side. I'm a huge Duran Duran fan. Like I've
okay.
I've I've always used Duran Duran for both musically and visually, as sort of like my it's my music, it's my go-to inspiration music to remind me of what I do, which is art, which is
Mm,
create art, and their consistency and ability to be so vulnerable in a time where it would seem to be quite the opposite, and that would pay off, so it's just gonna go, just kind of go crazy, as far as what they could do, but at the same time to be able to have the taste to be able to kind of do what they do the way
mm.
they do it, and not sort of try to stay up with the trends, but just kind of keep the sound selection interesting and kind of keep changing, but they kind of go back to some formulas. It's just, as a fan, I'm very, very happy as a Duran Duran fan when I listen to their music now, after all these years. So it's really kind of what inspires me to kind of keep my music growing and to keep thinking like on the up and up as far as like sound selection, and just not really don't I mean, I stay close to what's happening. Like I keep a temperature on what's happening in the music, because I want to sort of allow, we're all kind of like schools of fish swimming in the same direction, in a
Yeah.
sense, with this R&B thing. So that's how my man DJ Quick recently just described it, and when I did that song Don't Talk and I produced that track, I was giving him his flowers, because I was just like, man, that groove back then, that boom,
Mm.
clap, boom, clap, I was inspired by you. All those songs that we grew up just by you, that 1 2, could nobody do it like you. But I was trying to put my triangles and my percussion in the background. And he's like, really? That's cool, man. And so it's always nice to bring it full circle. But yeah, I just keep reaching for beautiful things that I wanted to, to reflect, and it's all from rock to house to jazz to reggae to to soul to gospel. Nothing is out of balance for me. You know what I mean? It's just music. It's sound. So as long as I can kind of get in there, even with like the new energies of like Afrobeat and I'm a piano and things like that, and how that's flipped R&B, like
Yeah.
that gave a kind of new injection to R&B. I love that. So I've always played with with the dancehall energies as well, you know, as far as like that being a huge, you know, influence on me too. And kind of traveling and hearing music worldwide, not just in the United States, and having it be an influence. So yeah, I'd love to show that. So I got a chance to do that on Pleasures You Like with a song like Layaway with featuring AZ.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a dope way to kind of show kind of calypso energy with the track, and kind of get into that. But yeah, being in NY as much as I was out there, I was hearing so much different kind of culture,
Mm,
and also coming to England as well and being in London a lot, like just hearing so much. And I'm just like, oh man, I gotta
yeah.
put some of that in here. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah, but if somebody listens to your catalog, they would see the progression as a producer and a songwriter. Because when you look at Comfortable Swag, it is some dance. It was up tempo. Um, Watching Now, it was like, okay, that sounds like Timberland kind of beats. Watching Now. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, I was like, wow, that. I think Nelly Furtado kind of vibe on the beats that you did. That you did yourself. So it showed a different range. So if somebody listens to Comfortable Swag and then listen to say Cool Relax, they won't realize, wow, this he has a range and he's
Mm.
producing this all himself. I mean, when you did Comfortable Swag, did you what was the whole inspiration by making it sort of non R&B type of stuff and just being brave and just doing something different?
Yeah. Well, I grew up with a lot of influence from the 80s, British bands that were
Okay.
coming out, groups like ABC, and how that music was sort of like it really echoed back the grooves that were happening in America by groups like Chic.
Mm.
And Chic was happening, and the energy, the musical selection of the drums and the orchestras and the bass line being really Bernard Edwards on the bass, just making the bass really move and be melodic. It was almost about the bass, yeah. And the guitars were also right there with the bass. So yeah, to put the kind of groove in a sense, taking it back to the disco era, post disco, really,
Yeah.
um, era of when R&B. You know, I was born in '74, so that's to show my age there, and with the song like "Comfortable Swag" because it's very, very, you know, disco ball, like,
Yeah.
spinning, and and I love people like Jamiroquai, for
Yeah.
inspiring
Yeah.
that energy in me, of wanting to embrace that side of myself and not be afraid to express it because
Yeah.
he'll just go to any tempo he wants and he'll
Mm.
just make it happen, and I love that.
Yeah, it was a very
And
underrated album.
but I
Yeah.
also want to give John Taylor from Duran Duran his flowers as a bass player because he's always been such an influence on me with my bass lines. And so Comfortable Swag is kind of both Bernard Edwards from Chic and also John Taylor from Duran Duran. Like it's a very, very like expressive bass part. The Comfortable Swag bass line is one of my favorite bass lines I ever wrote. I mean, as a bass player, it's just fun to play, period. But um I will say the tempo being as fast as it was, it's just something I've never done before. So it's like really fun. And when we play it live, which is hardly ever, we go we go hard. We go hard with that one. It's crazy. It's fun.
Yeah, a beautiful album. Helpless Romantic. What I loved about it was the fact that we rarely got concept albums.
Thank you.
And when you then start to see the progression from, trying to, okay, can we get serious and going through that whole progression, it's like, wow. And you wonder why it's not done a lot. How did you feel about making that album?
Helpless Romantic was a beautiful time because it was the birth of my daughter and also the beginning of my marriage. So we kind
Yeah.
of just we didn't waste any time. We just kind of dove in. I was the whole reason for really falling in love is because I've been a helpless romantic all my life, and I felt like songs like Drowning on that album really also express that side of myself that I couldn't deny, which was like, man, I'm falling in love here with this woman, and we're about to have this baby, and this is happening. I'm not gonna turn back. Like I'm about to really, really like just let this thing swallow me up, and just become a new man. And that's what that album was me being, birthing, it was a new, the birth of my child, and also just a
Mm.
new era for me as a as
Yeah.
a as an artist as well. Yeah, Helpless Romantic is a special record. Very smooth
Mm.
energy on that album. The
Yeah.
vocal production that I was on at that time was very kind of in your face, intimate, and also very just layered up. That's a layered up album, man. Helpless Romantic is
Yeah.
stacks on stacks of vocals.
Yeah. I mean,
It
I
really
love
did. I
Drops
mean,
of
I
Rain.
loved
Yeah.
I loved doing that with the song, particularly Helpless Romantic. But there's also songs like My Distraction on there that is just really, and Make Up Love and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
love
I
that.
mean, It's You was one of my favorite on the album.
It's You. Oh wow, thank you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, It's You. Jay Bynum on the production on that. That was fun to make that song. And it's also kind of got a little bit of a, I want to say the weekend hadn't really popped yet as an artist.
No.
So, but he was in sort of like the midst of what was happening, and that was very parallel. It's like interesting when you fly very parallel to someone else, and you can kind of see him in the atmosphere because they're flying the same way, and so that was one of those energies where I felt like I was aligned with the weekend for some reason on that song, and I was kind of preempting where I feel like he was going to go. It wasn't even that he was making that type of music at the time. I just felt
Mm.
like Michael Jackson has always been a huge influence,
Mm.
and if we're talking about It's You, I was very much in sort of a Mike bag on that record,
Wow.
like thinking in those terms of the my vocal energy, and also
Mm.
just melodically kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the influence. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the anything that's Mike is kind of the weekend, isn't it? Because he's got such a direct influence on the weekend. So when you hear that song, that's why I always wanted to collaborate with him too, as well. He's he's one of my favorites, just because it's not so much about being super elaborate with the melodies, although he can deliver any melody. But I think that it's just the way that he sings it and the way that he delivers it, and also the full package, the tracks that he selects and stuff like that. That's why I'm a fan of what he does.
Yeah.
He's keeping it interesting for R&B.
And that for a long time is what you were doing. I mean, even as I mentioned,
Thank you so
Helpless,
much.
yeah,
Yeah,
Helpless Romantic,
it's
beautiful track. Drops of Rain, was
yeah.
another
Drops of
beautiful.
Rain. That's a wonderful record too, as well. Like Drops of Rain is it's it's funny because I love SWV too, and Brian Morgan,
Yeah.
he just is, he's an influence on me. That style of production. Um, but I want to say that Drops of Rain and you know that whole style of music right there is kind of taking it back to the cool, relaxed energy.
Mm.
It's because that's what I was listening to was SWV during that time. So when you hear songs like "What You Say, Boo," um, I do or whatever back then, that's all directly influenced by like SWV, Tony, like all that music I was listening to at the time. So yeah, Drops of Rain is kind of like a more mature, but
Mm.
taking it back to those energies.
Yeah. If you think about Strong Every Day, um, one, you went back to doing a lot of the production, um, but you had other people like Just Blaze. Um,
Yeah,
you had Brains, who is Igbo like myself. We're from the same type of tribe, Brains.
yes.
Um, because that's a beautiful track. It's
Brains,
like,
yes, he's the man with Lately, and then that was the first time I collaborated with Tank as well on the song Lately,
yeah, that's a
and
beautiful line.
that was wonderful to do that, and Babyface came in and sang backgrounds on my bridge on that song.
Wow.
So that song's kind of got Tank and Babyface singing backgrounds for me on that record, which is quite cool, man. I don't know, as an R&B fan, I'm I'm excited about saying that.
Yeah, but it was I think it's probably after Pleasures You Like, it's probably my second favorite, but it didn't. It's strange because I've interviewed Matthew Knowles, and I know he was sort of doing the A&R at was that Sanctuary?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think they just didn't know how to push the album out, especially with your you know, when because it beautiful, it had all the hits, it was probably as strong as anything you've put out before, but it unfortunately I don't think they put out the right singles out
Well,
that would.
we got up to the top 10 on TRL on MTV. That was pretty cool. I mean, I hadn't even charted in a really long time, so that was really cool. No, I mean I feel like albums are supposed to do what they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're really it's your season and it's that time. You know what I mean? It's only so much that a label can actually do.
Mm.
Um, at the end of the day, the fans got to show up and they got to support you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Even if they don't see, I mean, there are plenty of people that are not getting a lot of advertisement, but they're selling millions of records because people find out they're like, I want that record.
yeah,
I feel like sometimes it's a slow burn, and it's like, okay, but then you look back 25 years, 30 years later, and it's still burning, and you're like,
yeah,
dang.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's like it's about what you want. You want the fast money or you want the long term? You know
yeah,
what I mean? Because my thing is I'm in it for the long term. Statistics and staying up with the Joneses is all like that's a lifestyle, man. That's a serious place to put your head. It's like horse racing. You know what I mean? It's like you're never gonna be number one. So,
yeah,
and if you are, it ain't gonna last very long. And it's
yeah,
very expensive to stay at number one.
yeah,
Because everybody who's at number one, you could better believe they're spending money to stay there.
yeah,
It's not just a show up and play type of thing, man. This is all costing money to chart, to do all that. It's money, man. It's not about music, it's about money.
yeah,
So just don't, we can't get that twisted in terms of the way we perceive this. Oh, this was a better quality project, so it was more successful. No, there was money behind it. That's why
mm,
it was more successful.
yeah.
That's the bottom line. If you really want to get it down to the facts of the facts. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, even Boys to Men mentioned when they came out with Evolution that all their budget went to 98 Degrees, and it's like, and so if the money wasn't there to push their stuff,
there it is. It's the money, man. It's the money, 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 money. It's all right though, man. Because that's why I did projects like Jack Herrera, when we made a song called Silver and Gold, because with and featuring Black Thought from the Roots,
Wow.
because we wanted to make a almost like gospel-esque record that was like speaking to the renaissance of people we have out here that are staying rooted in what's most important, which is what we're leaving behind here. We can't take the money with us, so it's like silver and gold. It really makes no difference at all. It's what you give to the world, and that's what's gonna matter in the end. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's all love.
When you came out with Pleasures You Like, I was working at Edmonds Entertainment
Oh, really?
yeah, in marketing and promotion. And
Really?
yes, so I know Michael and Jackie and
You I
yeah,
It's been so long, bro.
no,
Wow.
yeah, no, but and that time I was working on a third story as well. I don't know if you remember the guy's third story.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, my job was to work with trying to push them out and stuff. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but but just I mean, what did you think about Pleasures You Like? Did you feel as if it was a good follow-up from Cool X? Did you feel as if
But what are you talking about? Pleasures you like?
yeah, did you feel because I was working at Edmonds during the time it came out, but did you feel as if it was it was you put your
Yeah, every album, man, you really do feel like, all right, this is what I'm doing right now. It's like it's weird because I guess as listeners, like it's it's more like it's from your guys' perspective. I don't know if I'm right or wrong with this, but it's almost like I'm getting the like I'm interpreting as like the listener thinks that as the artist we want to make a better album than the last album, and it's got to be like ascension of like better music, better songwriting, better singing, better production, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And ideally that's what we want to do. But I think that you can also kind of get lost in the sauce with that and kind of like end up kind of being your worst enemy and kind of cookie cut something that is so contrived that you'll end up going back to the drawing board that you feel like, man, I don't want to just remake Cool Relax again. I want to do something, you know what I mean? So, okay, we got these songs that kind of sound like that energy from that time. But I want to do something else. And so that's my whole thing is to keep it interesting and to not sort of keep repeating myself. One thing that it was a blessing to have for sure, that was a recurring theme for me, was to have Babyface continue to collaborate with me on my projects and just to appear as a even if it was us collaborating and doing the production together, whether it be was it what I Like About You, is that on the
Lonely Girl was
that's on
there.
Stronger Every Day, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, and on Places Like You Like, it was Lonely Girl that you guys did, probably the
Lonely Girl was the collaboration. Yeah, we co-produced
best
that
song on
together.
the album, by a
Thank you
mile.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pleasures You Like, particularly the title track, that was like, I got to give people like Horace Brown his flowers, and like Intro, the group Intro from, Kenny Green and those guys.
Yeah, Buddy and yeah, and Jeff.
Mary J. Blige, just East Coast R&B. Hearing that in the 90s, man, and growing up off of that, listening to that music, it's why I made records like Pleasures You Like. And that song's just got it's got also a little bit of a Jay Dilla kind of influence too,
Mm.
because I was listening to a lot of Slum Village at the time. So it's kind of like what inspired the musical kind of flow that I put on there with those guitars and keeping it very kind of almost jazzy.
Yeah, but
But
you
I
feature
love Pleasure You Like. It's a great
yeah,
song.
you
And also I had As Yet sing backgrounds on
that's
that.
what I was gonna say, because I saw because Sean's come to my house when he came to
Yeah.
England last month, a couple of months ago. So I saw that he actually was listed as a writer. So what was the deal? Did you seek them out and said, guys, I need you
Well,
to
they came to, we were just collaborating for their project actually. And I came up with that track right there in the studio, and I just produced that track, and then I said, you guys got to help me write this. So we came up with the hook, and different people, we were all in the room, just kind of saying different lines. So I kind of just evenly split the whole thing up, like to where, all right, everybody gets, and because everybody wrote different little parts, but I just remember having like Sean and having Dion and having God, I forget all the names, but
There's
they're all
Kenny.
go they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
all
yeah.
went in there one by one and sang a different pad on the record. So it has a very kind of like, it almost sounds like a group. That song. It
Yeah,
almost sounds
yeah.
like,
It
it
was
has like a very kind of like chanty kind of group kind of thing. But I love that record. Pleasure You Like is definitely one of my, I think when you hear a song like Shine from Cool Relax,
mm,
it's kind of like me starting the wave of that style of a record. It's like a sexy, like it's almost like a head nod type of joint. It's just like
mhm.
roll the windows down and let the let the wind blow and just kind of just nod your head and just kind of like one of those chill kind of joints.
Yeah,
So
and it was definitely a beautiful track. So
thank you.
last night I interviewed Keith Andis,
Oh yeah, yeah, Keith Andes. Yeah, he produced Pride and Joy on that one.
and
Well,
so yeah,
Babyface made the song, wrote the song, but he did my vocal production
yeah,
and on that song.
because I
So
said
yeah,
to him that it's strange because it sounds as if Babyface. I mean, yeah, we know he wrote it, but it felt as if he did everything, and because it sounds, how Babyface is. If you think of Waiting to Exhale, and his sounds. So Keith says no. I mean, yeah, Face did the basic stuff, but yeah, he got in and same thing with
Yeah,
John.
he
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Keith.
Keith has always been super instrumental with Kenny's stuff. Like, Kenny keeps a lot of amazing people around, you know what I mean? Like, that's why you even read on the old credits, like so many great musicians, Daryl Simmons, KO, I mean, all these
Mm.
different people, that played, instruments for him, guitar as well, like all the different guys. I mean, countless amazing people. But yeah, Keith Andes, he was always around, and but he was fun to work with. Everybody being a fan of a Face, it's like there's only so much, he probably wants to be around that energy as far as someone like, kind of reflecting back his energy. I don't know if he wants to be around it or not, but I know that for those sessions, he was pretty much not in the room. So
Okay.
Keith was doing the producing. And then when it was done, he'd come in the room and he'd check it out. And I'd be like, oh God. Oh man, that was those are those sessions. So I really wanted to impress everyone, but especially Face. So I remember Keith Andes kind of just saying, man, this sounds like one of those records you need to be like El DeBarge, like at the top, like with you just like Kenny would do or something, just croon at the top, like say some sexy shit at the top. And I was like, all right, cool, like run it. And I did my best to kind of just really be in that bag of that, just the romantic, But it's so over the top though, the way I'm doing it. So it's very, very much like complimenting, I feel like the R&B that I grew up off of, and kind of assimilating to that energy, as far as just for that song, it worked. We
Mm.
originally had Casey and JoJo on background vocals, Babyface on background vocals, and Tony Braxton on background vocals
Wow.
because Kenny wrote the song originally for Tony.
Oh,
And but it ended up getting left off the album. And so he's like, he played, I said, can I have that song? He's like, absolutely. And I was, man, I was very,
wow.
very blessed to have that song. So,
Wow.
yeah.
When and there's a track on and on of the of Helpless Romantic. Did you sample something that Dal Simmons did, or did Dal Simmons co-write it with you? I mean,
On what now?
on and on
On and On has
from
Daryl Simmons.
with Helpless Romantic. So Dal Simmons or D Simmons is listed
Oh
and
yeah, no,
L.
that's D Simmons. Yeah, that's another guy. That's not Daryl
Oh,
Simmons. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I was
No,
thinking,
no. Yeah, On and On was a track that I collaborated with these fellas, D Simmons and those guys.
okay.
They came through my crib, and we kind of wrote that song together. But the track was really, it was one of those situations that's just like when I heard something that was dope, I was like, I like the way that's put together, and I didn't have to do anything. It was great.
Wow.
Sometimes I do that. I just play even if your lyrics and your pen is if your pen is dope, when you come with a nice song, like I can recognize when something's dope, and
Mm.
it's no problem for me. I'm not fighting with the ego of being someone who hasn't learned that I don't have to be the greatest all the time. You know what I mean? It's nice to be able to just step aside and let someone else be the greatest one. You know what I mean? In the room, the most meaningful person in the room right now because they wrote the shit. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, how do you right now? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause it's so cool how we are able to all touch, this part of ourselves with our sentiments and our ideas, but also touch others, and it's a gift that just keeps giving. So yeah, there's no sort of like feeling like you're off on your own island. We're all connecting. We're all tapping into something it's kind of one mind. It's not a self mind. You know what I mean? For me, R&B has always been about a collective, and how are we feeling right now? Like, not only as individuals, but as a community of
Yeah.
people. It's like, what are we on right now? All right, we on that? Okay, cool. We doing that right now, And now
Yeah.
you hear like 10 songs in that vein, because that's how everybody's feeling right now, you know? And I feel like I love that. No other style of music. I mean, maybe rock does it a little bit, but there's no other real style of music that is traditionally done that, where we've kind of like, you have these brother and sister records that have come out together. You know, I remember when Don't Talk came out, Coffee Brown had just dropped after the party, and every club I went to, I heard Don't Talk play, and then after the
Yeah,
party came out.
yeah,
You know, it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
oh, great, this is the same tempo, and like
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
was a movement at that time.
yeah. And
It
it
just
had the
worked.
yeah,
It worked. You know?
yeah, because Rough Ends had
Yeah.
no more shopping streets. So they had that yeah, that type of tempo.
KD, man, on the production, you know, on that one, you know, on the reference. Yeah, you know, from Naughty by Nature.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
5 miles to empty.
Say what now?
5 miles to empty. Brownstone. You remember doing?
Brownstone.
Yes. Did you co-write that? 5 miles to empty.
No, I did not.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. I thought that you'd. I think one of the questions we have, because I always start off by asking where you were born and raised, because I didn't. I started off talking about your music. I forgot because people around the world are watching and they're thinking, "Where's he from?" And so, where are you born and raised?
I was born in Rhode Island, in on the East Coast, and yeah, you know, I was raised in Pasadena, California, in you know, on the West Coast. And so we moved at a very young age. My dad, who was a professor of music and got a job at the college at UCLA. US, what is it? USCLA,
Okay.
in out here in LA, and taught music for 35 years at the college. And he conducted opera. He did all kinds of teaching violin because he's a violinist as well. So
Wow.
yeah, there was always music going on in my house, you know. But yeah, we moved from the East Coast probably when I was about 4 years old to the West
Okay.
Coast, and when he got the job, and yeah.
Well, did everyone lean towards classical and you became the only one that went into
Yes,
what?
yes.
Well,
You know, it's interesting because my parents were both classically trained musicians and professional classical musicians. My mother being a concert pianist, who played with orchestras, the
wow.
piano, you know, grand piano in front of orchestras and stuff, and as well as taught piano, but also my father being a violinist and a professor, they sort of, it's almost like athletic families. They, you know, when they take sports so serious, everyone's got to play a sport, and you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
dropped off for whatever your sport is. It's like, so my thing was, my dad said, "What are you into?" And being that my grandparents owned a record store in Palo Alto, California, back in the 80s, late 70s and 80s, um, I was able to have a lot of vinyl, and I had just records all around. And so before I was a musician in terms of playing an instrument, records were my instrument. And, you know, my dad said, "What do you want to play?" And I was like, "I want to play the drums. I want to play synthesizers." He's like, "Well, the drums are too loud and the synthesizers are too expensive. So what do you really want to play?" I said, "I guess I just want to sing then, you know." So until I could afford to have a synthesizer, you know, I was a singer and a professional desk beater. You know, I was playing the desks in my class and, and making beats on the pergola you know, tables and things, whatever made noise, really. But yeah, just developing my skills, man. And when it was time to, you know, finally buy my first drum machine and my first keyboard, it was a wonderful thing because, you know, I definitely had a sense of purpose, and I always had the same purpose since I was 9 years old. It's actually the first keyboard that I purchased was at 9, and it's never stopped. My interest just became, it was laser focus on electronic music at that time. You know, just was so crude. It was like there was no computers, so
Mm.
everything was like about, you know, having components like your drum machine, your synthesizer, your little 4-track tape recorder, you know, a microphone, and just the basics, and you do what you can do. And that's how I started, you know.
So there was no pressure to get into classical music like your mom and dad.
Well, there was a bit of pressure to be professionally trained at something, being that both of them were teachers. They wanted me to have proper lessons by someone for something. And so I began to study percussion professionally. My father had a friend that played in the LA Philharmonic. He played percussion. He was actually nice enough to give me percussion lessons. So percussion is what I played in high school. So it kind of went with the whole thing. And because I got good at the congas and the bongos, and playing all the shakers and all the different stuff, I was actually asked to be a part of an honors jazz band on one summer, and graduating right after high school. So yeah, it was something that was always, it was a gift that I really appreciate having those percussion lessons, because I still incorporate percussion, play percussion on my records to this day. So yeah, it's definitely something that I appreciate getting proper lessons at something.
But when did you have the idea that I actually want to get into the industry and really take it seriously and not just as a hobby?
Yeah, that was more or less me, really after I compiled enough songs I felt that were, that spoke in terms of like both the quality of my production and how far I had made it, in terms of like, dang, this guy's really producing and writing all this stuff himself. And, you know, you're recording it at home. Okay. Like, I believe you. And I just wanted to get my foot in the door. So I was going to every label that would allow me to play my music for them. So I was sitting down at Warner Brothers, at Motown, MCA. And so it wasn't until I got to Babyface and Tracey Edmonds, that I landed my deal basically. But, it was definitely a matter of me not really taking no for an answer from some of these labels just to get in the door. They'd be like, oh, such and such is not here today. I was like, oh, I had a meeting, with such and such. They'd be like, oh, well, he's not here today. And then I just stick around and watch him walk out the door. I'm like, hey, man, what happened to the meeting, bro? Like, what's up, But it was because of those things, I think that, when you stay diligent, you stay, just dedicated to something, they're going to see you because you're going to show up. As long as you show up, they can't tell you no. And I'm still proving that point right now in my career, 30 years later, just by showing up. You know what I mean? There's nobody who's begging me right now, as far as label wise, to make another record. So I figured this is for my fans. This is for myself because I love to make music. And my wife, who deserves all the songwriting that I have, all the capability I have to give. And my kids, but the fans, they're the ones who I go out and serve on every weekend, and it's such a joy to do this. So because of you guys, you're the main lifeline between, this happening and it not happening, because the only reason why I can put albums out right now independently is because, of the lifestyle that, you guys have awarded me, with supporting me by coming out, buying those tickets, allowing me to have another show, buying the albums all these years, and just allowing me to continue to prosper. I've just been so blessed by y'all. So that's why I owe you another album. After 10 years of being gone, I feel so bad that I took this long, but it's time. And I finally compiled, I feel like, something that's quality enough that I'm ready to share it. Yeah.
How many tracks do you think will?
It's only 11 on this one. It's
What do you mean
nice and
only?
short.
That's
Yeah.
the
There's only
classics like
11.
Thriller with eight and Make It Last Forever and the Guy album. So
I felt like this was a great
yeah,
chance
11.
to say less is more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really, and also with the culture that we're living in right now is a very much, it's like, it's almost like hand pick your songs off of iTunes. You know what I mean? Type thing. I don't know if everybody is in it for the full entree. Some people just want to pick that a la carte little, you know what I'm saying? And so in that way, I allow people to kind of know that if they want to feel this thing from beginning to end, like this is a cool little 11. I'm not going to give you 22 to have to to sort through, you know.
No.
It's 11 sweet records that it's a, you know, some of the stuff is actually really cool because I was able to kind of go back to my vault and find really dope things from like the late 90s
Mm.
that were like, because now with technology I can kind of make a stem out of anything. I can separate old music that I had, take the vocals out, use the
Wow.
track, just, you know, use the drums only and not the, I mean, there's just so many things I can do now. So with that technology, it was kind of like having a time machine and
Mm.
being able to go back to 98 and see what was my, I know my drum selection was dope back then, and I was on my kind of premiere bag on this one song. So I like that. I like that. Let me use that. So I was able to import some songs, take the vocals out, leave some vocals, but for the most part, restructure the song in a way where it has an up-to-date feel with my vocal now. But these tracks, you know, it just there's so I just layered on top of the track to kind of give it some new energy. This is just speaking about one particular song. Actually, there's two songs on the album that are like that. But yeah, it's kind of got a D'Angelo influence feel on there,
Wow.
very kind of Prince D'Angelo kind of thing. But it's a head nod kind of brown sugar tempo. And yeah, there's songs on there that are one song DJ Quick mixed. I'm really excited about. That was the last song that we just finished. I produced it, but he mixed it. It was very much like a return to the Don't Talk energy, but
Mm.
with live drums. I played the live drums on there. Drums are real chunky and just
Wow.
it's all live percussion, and it's very, very grown and sexy. It's very Marvin Gaye influence.
Wow.
It's got a little bit of Michael Jackson in there. It's just a good, and you know what? It's been a long time since someone did a two-step record, like a roller skating record, or
Mm.
yeah, just a real bounce rock skate kind of celebratory kind of song you could play at like a wedding, you know, after, you know, reception or something like that. And just, you know, I wanted to make a song about my wife and I being together for so long because we've been together almost, well, it's been 17 years. So
Wow.
it's been a long time, and I wanted to make a song that was basically saying like we're celebrating each other, you know. And so the song's called Still Got Love. But yeah, it's that's one of my favorites on there. I have a song with Rick Ross as well.
Wow.
That's really dope. It's like something to play like on a yacht in Miami, you know. This whole time. It's definitely like it's some bossy ass shit. It's really, really dope. I hope that people love it. I mean, for me, it's kind of like the most modern thing I've done in a really long time. That really just fits, and it fits in a way because it doesn't really have necessarily one style. The song is like three styles all in one. It's a little bit
Mm.
of like Afrobeat, a little bit of R&B,
Wow.
a little bit of reggaeton, a little bit of it's like
Wow.
it's but it's got the hip hop thing is of course the most prominent, you know, thing that you feel from it. But with all these kind of like it's got a little EDM in the background. I mean, it's just got a lot of flavor for it, and for it sounds like Jon B 2024 is the way I want to look at it. It's like it sounds like my current music that I'm doing right now. And the track was actually not done yesterday. It was done, you know, probably 4 or 5 years ago. But I just kept updating and kind of making things sound fresher. And with Ross being on the record, it really just kind of stamped it. And I always wanted to collaborate with him. His voice and his pocket and the texture that he brings to records is just really. I love what he does to R&B records too, because he does a lot of R&B collaborations. So that
Yeah.
wasn't a stretch for him at all. He just fit right into the pocket. I went to his house, met him, you know, shook his hand, you know. It was mutual, you know, respect in that sense of like us both legit wanting to make this collaboration happen. And even though we weren't in the room when we recorded it, we didn't need to be because he, you know, he just did his thing. I mean, he 2 weeks later I had my record. I was like, oh,
Wow.
this is fire. So I can't wait till y'all hear it, man.
I think when you did one of Tupac's last albums tracks, Are You Still Down? I think you earned respect of a lot of people in the hip hop community. Like, man, look at how Pac took his time to collaborate with you. So I
Yeah.
think anyone that wants to work with you now is thinking, can we do what you did with Pac? So I think,
Thank you.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think,
it's an honor, man. I wear it like a badge of honor, that Pac collaboration. And anytime that I feel like I can collaborate with my greats, you know, the guys who, you know, I live my life bumping their music, you know, and like from Guru, you know, from Gangstar, you know,
mm,
getting to collaborate with him on the Cool Relax project. Like I said, Ali Shaheed Muhammad from Tribe Called Quest, getting to collaborate with him. Nas, you know, on the finer things, you know, with you know, on the Pleasures You Like
yeah,
album.
Scarface.
So many different Scarface, you know, I mean Cuban Link, AZ, Jay-Z,
Mm,
you know, I mean there's the Beanie Man, you know, I mean there's so many different souls that I've been able to collaborate with and really blend with and do it in a tasteful way that wasn't it didn't kind of like it wasn't reaching. I think that it was authentic, you know, in a sense. We've just kind of iron sharpened iron, and that's what a collaboration should be. When it's forced and it kind of just for the I think just for the fact that a person's popular or you know, and then they just throw it. It just seems sometimes a little forced. That's all I'm saying. It's not that it doesn't work. It just seems like when it does work and it really fits and it's congealed, like it blends all the
yeah,
way. Um, you know, a song like "Are You Still Down" speaks volumes for that because no one was doing music like that at that time. There was no, you know, rap on R&B. It was
yeah.
so like taboo
Mm,
because R&B stations literally were R&B stations on radio, and hip hop stations were, and you had your hours where they would switch up, but you never heard them collaborate the two together. And when they started to, that's when we kind of like we were looking at each other like, all right, it ain't so bad to be R&B, is it? Like, are we kind of like, you know, and it ain't so bad to be like all, you know, on your vibe, you know what I mean? So I get it. We all hang out the same clubs. Like I used to see Tupac pull up his Century Club back in the day,
I
man,
remember
and
Century Club.
yeah, man, and I'd be like, you know, all right, he wild, you know what I mean? But he's dope though. His voice just sounds like I hear him bumping in the back of the rides, and I'm like, this guy's he's amazing. And to go from being in the background with Digital Underground to being like the main guy was like, all right, that's what's up, you know. And I was a fan. So by the time we collaborated, I was already like super hyped, you know, on making that happen. And evidently so was he because he was when I came to the studio to collaborate to record, my CD was in his car and it was sitting there, the Bonafide CD
Wow.
was in the front of his Rolls Royce, just sitting in the seat. And I was like, oh, that's dope. I guess he was listening to it, or someone was listening to it, you know. And walked in, I was just like, what's up, man? And you know, rest was history. But yeah, love
Yeah.
collaborating, man.
Yeah, I think, and I think the one thing you've earned the respect of your peers and of course your fans, because of course for a lot of us, you know, we always assume black R&B, black music, but because we've been exploited in the
Yeah.
past. But there's a from the day you got into the industry, no one saw that. No one looked at you by your race or color. They just saw your talent.
Mhm.
And but I don't know. I'm talking as a fan who just said, "Man, this guy can sing," and he wasn't being used to sell records by the label. It felt like this. You were one. You know, we were all down with you. But as when you started off, though, was it like, do you think, were you welcomed from day one from your peers, or were others might be a little bit like, will others
Well, I
hesitate?
will say I was the bunt of a few jokes in the morning shows for the breakfast, you know, shows. Waking up in the morning and you go to radio, and I'm like on the prime time, like hour, like 8 o'clock or whatever. You know, as people are going to work and they hear my voice for the first time on the radio, and they're like, you know, "Ah, you sound just like Babyface," you know, and but you know, just like little jokes and things like that of that
Okay.
nature. So, but that was fine for me, you know, and you know, they'd say stuff about me being white or whatever, but you know, it was. kind of like a compliment in the same instance, because the next thing they do is bring up like Tina Marie or bring up Bobby Caldwell or something
Bobby
like that,
Caldwell, yeah.
and allow me to have that lineage in terms of that connection, which is the fact that they weren't black and they made successful R&B music, and at the same time they were welcomed and as guests in the house of R&B, and they're part of the history of it. So yeah, for me to be kind of like from the jump, first of all, singing a song with my hero, the guy that I felt was
Mm.
one of the main people in R&B that made me want to choose that style as my primary style of music,
Yeah.
as a songwriter and as a crafter of tracks and things like that. I could have gone anywhere. I could have done rock. I could have done dance music. I could have done anything. But I chose R&B. And it was because of people like Babyface that I chose that style. So getting to sing with him on my first song, really, I feel like it was a stamp of approval from the highest tier. You know what I mean? So you can't really, no one from any other level could say anything at that point. I mean, unless you were like Quincy Jones talking about, no, I don't really see it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it was really cool to be able to start from that tier with him, and to have that stamp of approval.
But when you tour now, because I've been trying to get this with the net for a long time, but you were really busy. I mean, I think you
Yes,
had an off week today, but it's almost as if every other day you're performing.
I
But
am doing a lot, and it's beautiful. I'm singing my new song, "Waiting on You." It's so fresh now, and the energy is just beautiful. Like, to celebrate all these years of songwriting, but also singing and performing. I don't forget, because I'm always reminding myself every weekend how much I enjoy playing and singing. I'm out there not only just singing my songs that I wrote, but I'm also playing them on the piano. So it's very, very much like get my skills together. Also, I love fashion too as well. So, performing is a lot, and putting on, making videos, crafting videos allows me and my wife and I to collaborate on the fashion. And we're always going shopping, looking for the different looks, the different glasses, the different
okay,
outfits. Because right now that is like, it's been like that for us in terms of like through the years, but I feel as the gigs have progressed, it's made us really see the importance of being like taking it that much more serious than I think that if someone just wears the same leather jacket every weekend, you see them, you kind of know what to expect. It's like I almost look forward to these performances and for the outfits, because I don't know what it's going to be this weekend. And it's a chance to express myself in that way. And as I grow older, I'm seeing the fun of it. Really, is like there's only so many things that I really can flex on at this age, with the knowledge that I've gained, just by being a person that's been in this world and soaking it all up. So fashion is one of the things I feel I've gotten better at over the years with
Mhm.
with my wife, and being an artist, it goes hand in hand. So yeah, it's fun to express myself, find the next shades I'm wearing. I'm
yeah.
always trying to change up the shades. I love shades because as I grow older now,
You
I'm
keep
not
saying
trying to
grown
have
older,
people
you
study
still
my
look
face.
like you're in your
Oh, I
you
see the lines in the side of his. Yeah, I mean, he looks 50. No, man, no.
no,
I look.
you look in your
I'm growing
30s. You
growing
still look
older
like
with
your
grace.
30s. Yeah,
And
you still
so,
look in your 30s. I mean, you say you're
cheers,
grown
brother.
older.
Cheers.
I'm
Oh, no,
thinking
no.
this
It's
guy stays.
bless you, bless you. But I will say that love is keeping me young, both mentally and physically, as far as like how I feel. My children, my 10-year-old beautiful daughter, and my 17-year-old beautiful daughter, and my beautiful wife of 17 years. Like I said, it's just a blessing and something to really live up to. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, you did have was that your daughter crying on one of your records? Pleasant you had a baby crying.
At the end of Now I'm With You, yeah. So I was manifesting my children. That's what it was through that,
Oh,
because that wasn't even my child. I just found like a a little recording of a child, and I put it on there because I was putting myself in that. I was literally holding that child in my mind, and I was making an interlude.
Wow.
It's like, this is what it's gonna be like to be daddy, like I'm in that mind already. Like I'm thinking that way.
Wow.
Like I want to have a baby with you, like my seeds with you. That's what that interlude was called. So
Um,
yeah, man. I mean, I got it, and I can listen back to that and hear myself talking. And I was like, damn, I didn't even have a kid, but I sound like how I used to speak to my baby when she finally arrived here. You know what I mean? It's the
wow.
same guy. So yeah, that's a funny fact though. That's not my,
Yeah.
my
You
actual
know
kid.
what? Okay, because I was thinking, because I did that before I got married. I used to just think, I wonder what it's like having a car seat. I wasn't even married. I didn't even have a girlfriend at the time. But I'm thinking about a car seat. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I can, when you said that, I
Car
remember.
seats, man. They're very important. Gotta
Yeah.
have them.
I didn't have kids. I wasn't married, wasn't engaged, anything, but I was thinking, oh, car seat. And so it was just visualizing being a parent
Yeah.
before it happened. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think I was a very mature, you know, young man growing up. I kind of wanted to do everything very fast. I wanted to settle down fast. I wanted to have my own record label and have sign artists and have a whole production line of various, artists, and kind of like Bad Boy. I wanted my own,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So Def. I wanted my own, at LaFace, you know what I'm saying? So um that was my goal when I first started. And I feel like that also was kind of my goal with everything else in my life. I was really trying to just really shoot for the stars with it and really try to do as much as I could. But sometimes you do too much and you spread yourself thin. And I learned what that felt like with a lot of different aspects of my life. But I feel like, ultimately I wouldn't change anything when I look back. That makes me into the person I am today. And, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm not doing this, and actually I started doing this during the lockdown because I'm a mental health therapist and I work with families and kids.
Mm.
And the whole idea was this was just to hear people's stories and journeys. Um,
Yeah.
and I do wonder, especially for yourself. I mean, you went high, you had all this stuff going on. How did you manage your own well-being and mental health
Mm.
in the heights of being in the music industry, especially being a popular artist?
Well, I'll tell you, there's been ups and downs definitely through the last 30 years of being in this music industry, and being in the world period. Has been as a man just growing up. Relationships, ups and downs, like everyone else. So I've had divorce in my life. I've had, like I said, fire, which, took. It's not just about all of the things that have happened in the contrast to all of the wonderful things that have happened to me. Yeah, it's also about just really just knowing that I'm not the only person that the sun's shining on.
Mm,
It's or rather the rain when it rains. It's like we're all going through this, so it's wonderful to know that you're not alone. And when I do see, my little brother Justin Bieber, crying on the Instagram, and
mm,
he's got everything a man could want material wise, but he's still crying. I'm just like, my heart goes out to him because I know what it is in terms of the mental kind of effect that this has on you. Being that we are artists expected to be ourselves, but at times you can feel a bit like running away from all of that and just
mm,
wanting to be kind of civilian on walking the streets and just like everyone else. It can be sometimes feel as if you're being narcissistic, or
mm,
a sense of selfishness in terms of the way you have to think about your art, your thing, but I think there's so many different callings in life, and we all have our job, or our thing we have to do. When we put our mind to it, that's what you got to think of it as, is putting your mind to it. Sometimes it can feel a little bit narcissistic because it's all, I'm speaking about myself. I'm talking about this is what I'm doing, this is how so at times, being, if you're not that type of a person, it's cool with talking about yourself all the time. You can feel a little bit guilty for that sometimes and feel as if you want to talk about someone else or give someone else the flowers. take the attention from yourself and put it onto something that you find very interesting, find that something inspiring to you, you know, which is I tend to do that a lot. Because I also have that same issue with fame and with sort of like notoriety and things like that. You know, status quos, all of those things. The Joneses, as I call them, man, keeping
Yeah.
up with Joneses. That's a big deal, and it costs a lot of money. You know, but if they're paying that money for you, I feel like it is what it is. You know, and when you're on the red carpet, know you're on the red carpet. Come dressed, come ready. You know what I mean? Like, don't
Mm.
show up in your board shorts and your t-shirt. You know what I mean? Because there's a certain level of respect that shows, or rather, lack of. So, you know, for me, it's about really holding up the foundation of R&B by representing it with class and with style and with grace. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah. I mean, John, so as we finish up though, you've come out with 8 albums. I know you've got a new one coming up, but if you were to rank your top three from from your catalog, not the new one, because we haven't heard it yet. So, but what would be number three, two, and one?
Probably my number three would be Bonafide. You
Okay.
you really like Bonafide, which makes my
No
day, man.
skips.
That's
Yeah, it's no
amazing.
skips.
No
It's
one
no
ever says
skips.
Bonafide.
Hey, it
Thank
reminds me of
you.
112's debut album where it's just no skips.
Wow.
And Tim
Thank
and Bob
you.
did that. So I love, yeah. But yeah,
Well,
but yeah.
I would take those flowers, brother. I appreciate that. That's what's up, man. That makes my day because that those songs aren't always the ones that people, you know, appreciate. But I would say Bonafide would be my number three though.
Yeah.
Uh I'd say Pleasures You Like would be number two, and number one would be Cool Relax.
Is it
I
because
mean,
it's
it's
just
for
the
me,
most
it's
popular
Cool
or what?
Relax is the album for me that those songs are the most primarily played in my show. Like I have to play every single off of Cool Relax in the show. Or people are saying, why didn't you play Don't Say? Why didn't you play what I do? Why didn't you play They Don't Know? Why didn't you play Cool Relax? Why didn't you play? You know, so it's a trip. Because of that, I feel like that album gets awarded the number one. It's not that the songs are my favorite songs. I feel like that the groundbreaking, you know, things in my life were on that. You know, working with Tupac, working, you know, Tim and Bob,
Yeah.
working with Casey and JoJo.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, as I said, I did a poll. I had 2,000 people vote, and Cool and Relax by far was the number one that everyone
Oh
picked.
wow, okay.
But people were saying, don't sleep on Head of Hopeless Romantic. People said, don't sleep on Proud. And
Woo!
so what happens is the true
That's
fans
dope.
know the catalog and they're like, you guys are just chasing the hits, but look at the catalog. And
Yeah.
that's where you start to get people who like, really digging in.
Well,
And
in that case, then let me say the new album is number one for me. You haven't heard it? No, that's my favorite album so far. Like it really is. Like I love this album. It's very grown up. It's very grown and sexy without being too grown to where I sound like dated and old. No, it's not like that. I mean, there's some sexy records on here. This is an album you could actually take a vacation to, put it on from the very beginning, let it
okay.
play all the way 11 songs down, and let it loop back and just let it play, because it's very, I made sure this album was like, we went through every song making sure the sonics were like, they complement each other, the tempos, the keys of the records. I just, there's a lot of meticulous little things I did that make it what it is, and I feel very proud of this one. So yeah, but it's a different kind of proud. It's like, it's not a cocky proud or an aggressive proud. It's like, okay, letting your kid go to, dropping your kid off to school. You know, you've been preparing all summer, and now it's time to go to school again. So yeah,
Are you
when you
nervous
put this
about it
album
coming
out,
out? Are you nervous about it?
yeah, I am, because I want people to enjoy it. You know, but I know how we have, you know, music has changed so much. So there's so many different um templates of styles to kind of pay attention to and say, okay, that's happening right there with the trap soul. That's happening right there with Afrobeat and with the piano, and you know, everything else that's sort of like in that nature, you know. And then we have R&B. We got, you know, Tank and you know, and Lucky Day and all these amazing male artists putting out like amazing R&B records. Um, Too many to name. I mean, October London, all these different people. So it's a lot of there's vintage R&B made. October London, you know, I mean, we've got, you know, the hip hop thing happening. So it was just for me, it was really doing what I love and showing that side of myself. But you know, I did all the production on this one. It was really fun to break out the drums again, the live drums,
Wow.
record live drums on a lot of the songs.
Dad,
There's
watch
like
me
four of
now.
them. Yeah, you
Because
know,
Dad would say, no, it's too loud now, Dad. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like it's the drumming that I play is more pocket. It's more like, you know, taking
Okay.
it back to like the stuff I was talking about with when I first started listening to records and stuff like that, you know.
But the fact that you've done the visuals, um, I guess the difference is that your fans now, we aren't buying the CDs as much because we don't have CD players. I don't have a
Yeah.
CD player in my house. So it is really, either we're downloading it onto our phones or but yeah, those who are 50 up aren't streaming as much. So we're not going on Spotify. So we normally would watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've done the visuals means that you're catering for that generation who will just go on YouTube and
Yes.
keep watching it. Um,
Yeah. I mean, this album we've got 7 videos that we did. So for 7 songs. So it's like a beautiful thing to express the visual side and have that freedom to you know really really allow that layer to happen. That's a whole nother layer, you know,
mm,
one layer deeper when you give the visual, because it's a story that you tell. And it's for me, I like telling, I like, you know, allowing it to be kind of like a dream sequence. I don't really
mm.
like telling like literal stories. We did that in the 90s with like videos like I Do What You Say Boo. That was like a literal story. That's like the story of growing up, you know, you know, like I did, and the, you know, dating and asking for the permission from the family. That was a literal story. Um but as I grow older, I'm seeing how, you know, being a dreamer, being a romanticist like I am, a romantic, that it really it's nice to be able to just create these environments, these atmospheres with whatever we're filming, and allowing that to kind of be the story. You know, don't necessarily have a concept. Just find a really, really amazing background, find a really amazing landscape, find a really, you know, and so
Mm.
in that I just went out and I was kind of just with my cameraman, we went out and just started just being creative. And I mean, we went shot around New York City, we went and shot around
Wow.
LA. We you know, I'm taking them all over on tour with me. We getting the fans. So we
Okay.
it's going to be a lot of kind of documentary footage that goes along with the album as well. We're kind of showing the last, you know, just keeping you up to, you know, up to speed with whatever I've been doing over the last year.
Did you film yourself making the album? So do you have a
Yes,
backstory? Okay, so you've
yes,
got
we have
that.
that. It's wonderful. Like this, I don't think I've ever been this sort of detailed with all of the aspects of making an album. This is really the most detailed I've ever been. And I mean, when you can continue to push your music, not only, you know, as your music, but, you know, as a visual, like to be able to say, you know, I have a, you know, I still have this energy that I'm trying to show y'all. Like take this artistry thing extremely seriously, you know,
Mm.
and whether the, you know, whether the labels want to see me successful again, it's not the point. It's this is what I do. So I know when I show up, hopefully you show up too as a fan, and I'm just trying to provide that opportunity again for us to blend together. And the live shows really say it all. They really are
Mm.
my main bread and butter, and that's like my main sort of I put all of my energy into that.
Yeah.
But when I get the chance to really refine, like I said, in this case, 11 songs, like I have with this new album, I don't take it lightly. It's just like etched in stone forever. Like, here you go, boom, and just like any other albums have been. But it's just such a load off my shoulders when I finally put it out there and I let it go, and I just send that bottle off to the ocean, put you got the note, you put it in the bottle and put the cork on it, and then you
And
throw
it's
that
done.
joint out there and just, all right, someone's gonna receive that, So
Would you ever do a full set of the album, like a unplugged, John B unplugged of his new album?
yeah, I'm gonna actually do a lot of that as well, like the unplugged versions and kind of like the band live versions of the songs, as well. We're actually working on putting that together. I just did something that not too long ago that we filmed, and it
Wow.
was a nice little intimate setting. But speaking of intimate settings, I'm coming to the Jazz Cafe very soon, and Coco as well. So it's going to
Yeah.
be lovely to be back with you guys.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
miss my
say.
UK family.
Yeah. But not only that,
Yeah,
the my guys at room 187, we've got you on the 7th of July as well in Crystal
sweet.
Palace. So that's so what do you want to say to, I mean, I think the tickets are almost sold out, but what do you want to say to the fans who are coming to see you in the UK after so many years?
Well, I want to say thank you, first of all, from the bottom of my heart, and I can't wait to sing my heart out for you, and just reconnect again. In person. And those gigs always go hard. I mean, the potency of those gigs is like literally, that's the strongest it gets, because, well, the history that building has, and the crowd that comes to those shows, I feel like knows what to expect with the
Mhm.
intensity of how close everything is. And once the band gets cooking and I get into my bag, it's we're celebrating years of music that we've enjoyed together. I've
Mm.
enjoyed making it, singing it, and you guys have enjoyed listening to it, living your lives to it.
Yeah.
So we're celebrating a whole lot, and there's a lot of energy in the building. You feel that when everyone's singing the songs back and all that, but you can guarantee that I may be it may be a little bit of time difference as far as me being, shook from the hours being like 9, 10 hours ahead or whatever it
Yeah,
is
we're eight
behind.
hours right now. 8 hours, yeah.
Yeah, 8 hours or whatever. But so it'd be like me showing up and singing at like 4 in the morning or 6 in the morning or something like that at these shows. But nevertheless, I'm just singing my heart out, and just with a love for you guys and appreciation for you guys. So can't wait to see you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. So glad to see the shows are sold out. That's what's up.
Yeah, so I'm gonna yeah, I'll speak to the net, so I'll be able to I'll get to meet you when you do come to the to London, at least to say hello and stuff. Appreciate,
Absolutely.
yeah, appreciate your stories, appreciate the what I think I saw the most is really your passion for the music, and it almost as if you just have music all over the place, and that you almost like the Matrix, like a Neo who sees music as he's talking. So when I was talking about your songs, you were going through the notes as if, I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, so I don't, and you were like, you could see everything. And so it just shows a real passion, and that it's not just a business, it's actually, it's in you, that's who you are. And I think that's
Yes,
why
sir.
people still love you and appreciate what you do,
Thank you.
because it's authentic. Yeah.
Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate that so much. I didn't
Yeah.
want to mispronounce your name. How do you say
Namdi. Namdi.
Namdi? Okay.
Yes, Namdi.
Okay,
Yes.
Namdi. All right.
Yeah,
All right, my
Namdi.
brother. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure speaking with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And yeah, please thank Danette. She's been awesome, and the fact that she's your partner in crime and she's setting this stuff up, it's really an inspiration to be able to work beside your partner, your wife, because it
oh
shows
man,
that
big up
actually,
wifey. Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
yeah, it makes a
Yeah,
massive difference.
she's amazing, man. I will tell you, there would be no album, there'd be no videos, there'd be probably a lot less shows if it wasn't if it wasn't for her. So I'm very, very thankful, and thank you for acknowledging her as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, some when I call out to a friend of mine, Lisa, I said, "How do I get John B?" he said, okay, you need to get in touch with his wife. Here's her number.
Yes.
So I got in touch with
Yes.
her. I said, okay,
That's the main line, bro.
so we
That's
got the
main
show
line.
set up, and after we got the show, I said, okay, I need to get the interview separately. So we got the show. Now I got the interview, and now we're going to see Jon in July.
Absolutely. We're Vibes Elect Music. That's my wife and I, Vibes Elect Music. And when you see, you know, Vibes Elect Music presents, you know, the new music, that's our label. And yeah, we've been going since Helpless Romantic was our first
Yeah, it was Helpless
independent.
Romantic was the first one,
Yeah.
yes. And it was a beautiful track, yeah.
But we've been independent ever since. So it's really the shows, you guys showing up to the shows and all the shows being sold out, and they keep calling. So that's what allows us to have this freedom to continue to put records out, you know, and have videos and have tours and all of that. So yeah, thank you to the listeners, to the fans for allowing me
Yeah.
to continue my dream, because without you, I don't know if I'd be here, man, you know, in the same way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'll
Consider
reach out to her
yourself
to
the main line, the bloodline behind what I'm doing. Man, you know?
yeah, I would reach out to her to find out when the album, because she's in, I think she's managing the release date. So when it does come out,
Yeah.
so we can help with the promotion.
July, I think she said the 7th, actually. It might come out the day that I'm at the Jazz Cafe, actually, I think. Isn't
Okay,
that
I think the
the-
7th is at the Box Park with room 187.
Oh,
Room
that's what it
187.
is. Yeah.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah.
that's what that was.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, right on, man. Well, listen, pleasure once again to speak with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your questions and all your, you know what I mean? I love the fact that you love Bonafide. That made my day, though. That really did. Absolutely.
That's what I said.
I gotta play more of those songs. Where's the Simple Melody with Bootsy Collins?
Yes, yeah, we had Bootsy, but I did tell you about before, you know, before Gone Before, and I'm thinking, oh, so special.
Gone Before Light.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, so special, because I would have just called it oh, so special.
So special, baby. Yeah, it would have worked too.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. Yeah. Well,
Right on,
thanks,
my bro.
Jon. All right. Well, I'll see you in July.
Thank you again. Okay, now. All the best to you, my friend.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that category.
And somewhere in between
us for even loving us, on which I did miss you with
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No. Okay.
They don't understand what Jonas' voice is winning all spirits. Play it.
and all these guys, they all work together.
I mean, I love all different genres.